D. Mace, Vingen, and Donick, broadcasting from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville Studios, home of the $99 yearly BI membership, where the buzz is always about great service. And no, let's address the elephant in the room. The V in DVD is not here. Adam Vingen has started his holiday season earlier, but you replaced it with a C. I am Connor New, alongside Derek Mason and Willie Donick, who is currently live roller skating or ice skating from Rockefeller Center, I would believe.
So would it
New
be
York.
DCD?
Yeah, I mean, in the
DCD?
wise words of you, we don't have the V between the two Ds.
Yeah, so. But we do got that.
We do have a V.
Yeah,
we do have
a V.
Yes. Because I am in Vermont, so
Yeah.
that counts. I'm just over the border. My brother Reese, he lives just across the New York border. Cambridge, New York, is where my parents live. That's where I was coming at you live from yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
And today we've moved across the border to Vermont. So
there we go.
Vermont.
The V will never go away.
Yeah, so even when Ving is not here, Vermont is. So there we go.
That's right.
Gentlemen, it is the last show before the Christmas season. Let's just
Man.
My heart is somewhere else right now. My mind is
that?
here, but my heart is in Brentwood, where I'm about to fly down.
Man,
drive
you flying
down.
to Brentwood?
Yeah,
You're flying to Brentwood?
Quick flight.
What kind of money do you have?
Quick flight. Yeah, I will. Well, I may be flying down the interstate.
Man.
My cousins, one is 3 and one is 9 months old, and I have yet to see them. So I will be booking it out of here as soon as we're done here. But
okay, don't go too fast.
I'll do my
You need
best.
to see him grow.
I'll do my best. Yeah, well, that too. Let's begin with actual sports talk, shall we? Let's start with the Titans. Why not? Titans got the win over the Chiefs on Sunday. I'm sure you guys did a full breakdown of that yesterday. But I really want to focus in today on Cam Ward. Cam Ward, I feel, has had a season of ups and downs. You've had some great moments, like last game against the Kansas City Chiefs. I would argue maybe his best performance in two-tone blue. You've had bad moments where he just did not look NFL ready, like that game against Las Vegas. But overall, I want to talk about the development of Cam Ward and how we think that fits the timeline of the Tennessee Titans. And I'll turn things over to you guys. How do you feel with 2 games left to play in the season? Do you think Cam Ward's timeline matches up with the Tennessee Titans?
Listen, he's probably still, behind as far as where they may have wanted him to be, and it's not necessarily his fault. I'm sure they thought the talent around him was going to be a little bit better, that Calvin Ridley was going to be here majority of the season. No one foresaw him, missing some games, coming back, and then having a freak injury on the one catch he did have during I forgot what game it was. So I'm sure they had him being a little bit further, and then you got to factor in, them changing head coaches, new play callers, going from Callahan to Bo Hardegree, and then going from Callahan to McCoy as far as head coaches. So I'm sure he's not where they want to be or he wants to be, but I think in sort of these troubled waters, he's still been able to sort of develop and get better, maybe not as fast or where he wants to be. But again, the circumstances around him, I think he's done some things that have shown, at least me, I'm going to say me, that has shown me that this he's going to be all right. I'm not saying he's going to be an elite quarterback. I'm not saying he's going to lead this team to a Super Bowl and win it. What I'm saying, I think he's going to be all right, but he still has a lot of developing to do. So I think based on what's around him, yeah, he's still a little bit behind, but I'm not too worried about it.
Sure. Willie?
Yeah, the way you phrased the question, I'm thinking, they have to be on the same timeline. If it's going to work,
right,
it's got to be both. I do think that as much as we discussed yesterday that, they beat the Chiefs, we know that was not the same version of the Chiefs that you're normally going to see. And it was a team that looked a little bit more like a preseason lineup. But at the same time, it's a huge confidence boost. It's a big feather in his cap, a win, good numbers, and I think a little bit of growth. And what I like about it is I'm seeing the offensive line start to take a little bit more shape, not just yesterday. Not just Sunday, but in the last couple weeks, I've seen progress there. And I like that he's building little by little the foundation of the chemistry between him and the other rookies. I think he's been working that since training camp. I think that's a bonus. And now if you can find the big pieces, the right pieces to go with them, you hope that there could be a jump, right? Because at some point you got to make the jump. Derek and I have talked about this over the years. You can go from being a 3 or 4 win team to a 6 or 7 win team pretty easily. You're gonna get the easier schedule. You should draft well. It's that next step that would constitute a jump to me. And I don't know if they can make that jump next year, but you would certainly hope they can get into that 500 range or close to it, compete for that next year. That would be nice.
Right. You're right, Willie. The NFL is a league that is designed for a team to get pretty competitive pretty fast. I mean, look at some of the teams that are at the top of the NFL right now. The New England Patriots last year were picking in the top 3. Now they are probably one of the better teams, if not the best team in the AFC. You've got teams on the other side in the NFC that have flipped it on pretty quickly as well. The Chicago Bears are a team that comes to mind for me. So you're right. I think that if you draft well and you use your salary cap well, you can build around Cam Ward to make him fit your timeline. But to your point as well, they need to be on the same timeline. Cam Ward needs to be on the timeline of the Titans because the Titans want to be competitive with their guy, and they think they have their guy. Quite honestly, I think they have their guy. I would agree with D-Mace in that I think Cam Ward is a little bit behind in where we expected him to be before the season. He's the number 1 overall pick. You expect to see some results, but not some results that are better than what he's thrown out there. But I think he's shown you some flashes of what he can be. And I think that's good news if you're the Titans organization.
Yeah, I said yesterday when we were discussing sort of this topic, but I like the nuance you threw in there, Connor. That listen, I know people want to see the numbers, and I get it because numbers are tangible. You can see them, and you can say, well, he's doing good based on the numbers, or he's doing bad based on the numbers.
Yeah.
And people look at Cam's numbers and they say, well, he's not doing well. And they're right. If you're just looking at the numbers, you are absolutely right based upon, these other starting quarterbacks in the National Football League. But I think what people aren't seeing is the little incremental things that he's doing. And as I said yesterday, just like all of these quarterbacks, whether it's Manning, Tom, Drew, Ben, any one of these guys you consider to have won Super Bowls or elite quarterbacks, there was a process they had to go through.
Yeah.
And they show flashes here and there. Peyton Manning showed flashes his rookie season, but he also threw a lot of damn interceptions. But once he was able to master that little stuff, those flashes became consistent. And now we don't look at them as flashes. We look at them and that's who they are.
Yeah.
But they had to work up to that. If Cam wasn't working on those little things, he wouldn't be able to show you those flashes that you see. You see them more times than not, and you marvel over them. He's working out the little kinks. I call them little. They're not little, but I'm just, using the word. He's working out. Let's just say he's working out the kinks right now. He's developing. And in that, the better they help develop him, and he has to do his part too, the more consistency you will see with those plays that you once thought were like, wow, like just spot plays here and there. They become more consistent. Now he becomes a quarterback that not everybody, that some people thought he could be.
Yeah. I would agree with that. I think by the little things, you're seeing some of that growth. He's not dropping the ball as much anymore.
No.
He's making better decisions, finding open guys down the field. I'll use that throw he had to Chim DK as a perfect example. That throw in itself was the Cam Ward experience. He rolls out left outside of the pocket, finds Chim DK crossing the gap. Fantastic read, fantastic play, fantastic catch. He's growing on those things. And that's the key thing you want to see when you're trying to develop a quarterback you took at number 1 overall. So I would argue he's on schedule as far as the Titans' timeline is concerned, and they need him to be because once you open that stadium, you expect to be competitive. The Titans are not at a competitive place right now, and it's not going to change overnight. But like I said, this is a league that is designed for you to be able to become competitive over a shorter period of time.
Now, there was a stat that Easton Freeze put out, and it was his red zones completions. He's 27 for 40, 68%, 9 touchdowns, 1 interception, quarterback rating over 100. You look at that and you say, well, a lot of that was the second half of the season. A lot of these numbers, I'm pretty sure, are the second half of the season. We talked about it yesterday, Willie, with Adam when he was here. From from the middle of the season, from their break to now, his numbers have gotten better across the board. He's taking care of the football. Again, he's not putting the football on the ground. He's not getting sacked as much. He's getting the football out of his hands. Third down is a little bit better. Red zone is better. These are all the things that you want to see as the game continues to move forward for him. That shows progression. That shows progression, one, in him and developing in him. And then what they're trying to do from an offensive scheme. Now, this coaching staff may not be here next year. I'm saying from a philosophy standpoint, these guys, more likely they won't. But if he's showing development in those areas, then that shows me that this kid is getting it the second half of the season. And he's going to go into the offseason knowing what he needs to work on, and then hopefully he'll come back a better quarterback.
I do want to credit this staff if they can continue along these planes, and they've got a game where they're going to match up okay with New Orleans, right? They match up with them. We've talked about how they have really had a very, very difficult, extremely difficult schedule relative to most years, especially for a team that finished last in the standings last year. I don't know if there's ever been a tougher schedule for a team that had the first pick. So that has made, and Cam Ward has gone through that fire. I kept referring to it as a gasoline fire. Maybe they've toned down the gas just a little bit because it seems a little more manageable now. But now you're facing teams that are a little bit more equal in talent, and his numbers have come up. So I think through that, I want to credit this staff because the last couple of games, I do think that they have set up a game plan where I say to myself after the game, they helped him. They helped Cam Ward there. And there were some games early in the season, D-Mace, that I did not think that was true. I thought he was trying to do too many tough things, too many shots down the field. I think he's learned, but I also think the staff has helped him be in better positions to succeed with those quick releases, get the ball out. They've helped his completion percentage.
And that question, we had a caller call in yesterday and asked about why is it that, Cam seems to be better after the bye week. And my answer to him was because you have a body of work first half of the season. Now you have enough of body of work. You've gone against some really good defenses. Now you can go back and you can evaluate how you played and critique yourself very hard. And that's what the Titans were able to do. Go back, saw what worked with Cam Ward, the things they needed to change, things he needed to change or develop as they move forward. And how do we make this offense better than what it has been? They went in, they did all that, came back, they shortened the game, meaning I talked about this. They stopped throwing a lot of deep balls. Let's say that. They started working from shallow crosses up, and it allows Cam to get rid of the ball quickly, and he gets into a rhythm. The offensive line gets into a rhythm. Cam is a much better quarterback when he is in rhythm. Yeah. When you allow him to hit those short passes first, he's in rhythm. Now you can go deep. They were trying to do the reverse. They were trying to hit the ball down deep and then all of a sudden expect it to open. Well, if you ain't hitting them and then you ain't catching them, defense ain't going. It's not like they're gonna loosen up a little bit.
Right.
They're just considered long foul ball to us.
Yeah.
So until you master that, you got to work from the bottom up.
I think that's going to be one of the challenges for this new head coach, whoever it may be that comes in. You need to tailor your playbook to the quarterback, not tailor your quarterback to the playbook. You got to open up the playbook that plays to Cam Ward's advantages. Let me bring this to your attention just for comparison's sake. Let's compare two quarterbacks in the division, Cam Ward and CJ Stroud, who many are saying is declining but they actually have similar seasons if you look at it. Cam Ward on the season, 2,866 yards. That's 17th in the league, 13 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, a 30.6 QBR rating. That's 32nd among starting quarterbacks. Not great there as far as QBR. CJ Stroud, 2,600 yards, 16 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, 63 QBR. So pretty similar seasons there. I bring this to your attention because I think these are quarterbacks going in opposite directions.
Mm-hmm.
The talent around CJ Stroud, he should be delivering more than what he is. The talent around Cam Ward, you could argue, maybe what he should be delivering is what he's putting out there based on what's built around him. So I'm saying that if the Titans use their draft capital to their ability and use the salary cap to their ability and build a somewhat competitive team that can help build this quarterback, they can be relatively competitive in the next couple of years. Maybe not Super Bowl competitive, but they can compete for a division title.
Well, I would challenge a little bit on those numbers with Stroud, because remember, he did miss some games.
That is true.
And so some of those counting stats would be higher if he played, because one of the things that Cam Ward should be credited for, he hasn't missed any games, right? He has gone start to finish every game. That's a skill, right? Staying out there. I got to give him a lot of credit for that. I didn't know what we were going to see there, because we know he's taken plenty of physical punishment there. But the QBR, to me, Connor, is one that needs to be looked at closely, right? Yeah. That's a key stat, and that is where Cam Ward has got to come up if he's going to make it. That number cannot be down where it is in the future. And all of the whys, I know it accounts for how you run the ball, and we know he's not much of a runner. But CJ Stroud's QBR, that's a solid number in the 60s there, and Cam Ward is nowhere close to that. So as much as Stroud has sort of backslid a little bit, and the whole offense has, they've had a lot of issues there. I still think I would love to see Cam Ward where CJ Stroud is in another year or two. Like I still would like to see that growth.
Yeah, that's a good point. QBR is everything in the NFL. It's maybe not everything's not the word, but it is certainly a stat you look at. It's very important. Yes. I would argue, yes, you're right, Willie, that QBR needs to come up for Cam Ward. He needs to be more efficient when he's on the field. I think the talent surrounding him is a bit of the problem there, but you're right. He's not been at some points of the season able to make the right read, or he's dropped the ball, or he's what have you. I think that's growing a little bit throughout the season. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. Our phone and text line is driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. We got a lot to talk about today. We got a lot of guests coming on today. Coming up next, our good friend ESPN's Trevor Matich will join us to talk about this and some college football topics. Jonathan Hutton will join us at 4, as we can't have him on when do you guys have him? Thursday, usually?
Yep.
Oh, we have him on Wednesdays.
Wednesdays.
We're stacked.
Yeah.
We're stacked. And of course, the main event at 5 p.m., as he does every Tuesday on this program, Predators general manager Barry Trotz will join the program. But coming up next, we'll talk to our good friend Trevor Matich as he's calling in live from ESPN Studios. That's coming up next right here on D-Base Vingen and Don. D. Mace, Vingen, and Donick here on 102.5 The Game. Connor Newt, Derek Mason, Willie Donick here with you on your drive home. And let's say hello to our good friend from ESPN, ESPN's Trevor Matich, who has graciously taken time out of his day. I saw him on TV about 2 minutes ago, and I thank him for his time to talk to us. Trevor, what's going on?
Hey, listen, I appreciate you guys having me on. I love coming on with you, and you do a great job.
I appreciate it. So, Trevor, let's talk Titans for the first little bit here. I'll ask you the same question I just asked these guys. When it comes to Cam Ward throughout the season, he's had ups and downs. He had a bad game against the Las Vegas Raiders. He had a really good game this past Sunday against the Kansas City Chiefs. I ask you, Trevor, do you feel that Cam Ward's timeline matches up with the Titans in terms of his development?
I think it does, just because it was expected, right, that he would struggle this year. The offensive line was still coming together. The wide receiver group, I think people were hopeful would be much improved. It turned out that they left a lot to be desired. Tony Pollard, as a runner, did well when he was called upon, but the team fell behind so far, so fast, so often that the running game kind of gave way to the passing game. And all these things conspired to make it harder for Cam Ward than it normally is your rookie season. And so I think that he will make a big jump between this year and next year. Certainly against the Chiefs defense, he was fantastic. And people talk about Patrick Mahomes not being there, but Patrick Mahomes didn't play defense. Neither did Gardner Minshew, his backup, who was also hurt. So I think he's in a good position. Now, another thing that's good is that offensive line does have some of the best young building blocks in the NFL. At right tackle, I think J.C. Latham will become one of the best right tackles in the league. Already, Peter Skoronski at left guard is one of the best left guards in the league. And then Lloyd Cushenberry, if he comes back at center healthy from that injury, he's one of the best young centers in the league. Now, those are good pieces to build around. Now, you have a quarterback with talent. You have an offensive line that can run the ball and protect him, which they still need to improve at both of those. Then you have a core, and you can get receivers. Even this year's draft, there's a lot of good receivers in this draft. And so that core of offensive line pieces and Cam, I think, tell me that he is getting better for all the right reasons, and I think he's going to be just fine.
Now, Trevor, when you look at this team, we're talking with Trevor Matich, ESPN's NFL and college analyst. When you look at this team, we talked about this earlier in the week, the Titans, and what would they potentially need moving forward. We know the offensive line is doing a wonderful job now, at least over the last couple of games. It seemed like they're in sync. And you're right about Peter Skoronski. He's playing at a Pro Bowl level, damn near at an all-pro level. I think JC has gotten a lot better. And then Cushenberry, once he fully gets over that injury, I think he'll be good. But what do you think about adding a running back like Jeremiah Love to the equation? Because we look at Pollard, he's a good back, but I think he deserves to be on a team that is ready to make the Super Bowl. I'm not sure if his sort of quality of running or style of running at this point in his career is beneficial for the Titans because they're such a young team. So what do you think about a Jeremiah Love being added? Or a guy like that being added to this offense?
The dilemma, Derek, I think for the Titans will be that Jeremiah Love is at a position, running back, where you kind of rotate guys through, use them up, and then spit them out. But he is an elite talent. He's an outstanding receiver. I mean, he makes one-handed Odell Beckham Jr. style catches all the time for Notre Dame, and he's got the speed to outrun every defensive back on the field for 90-yard touchdowns. He does it all the time. And so when you've got a guy that is strong running between the tackles, and he's got the speed to turn a 15-yard run into an 80-yard run, and he's an elite receiver coming out of the backfield, then the dilemma it poses is that, do you take that guy who's an elite playmaker and an elite talent, even though he's in a position you could probably fill by rotating several guys through and keeping them fresh? And in the case of Love, if they drafted him, I would not be upset about it just because of that. I mean, you don't want to draft positions because of need unless the guy there at that position is worthy of that pick. and there isn't somebody else at a different position that you might not need as much who is more talented. Because otherwise, if you draft for need instead of talent, you end up over time populating your team with a lower overall level of talent. And so Jeremiah Love would be a tremendous addition anywhere, including to the Titans.
Now, moving forward, looking at this Titans team, Trevor, what are some things? Obviously, we talked about the run game, that it has improved. But what other areas of this team have you seen improve? Cam, I believe he is getting better based upon the numbers and just watching him ever since the bye week. But what else have you seen from this team that has, caused you to think, okay, they may not be as bad as what we think they are?
Well, as bad as what we think, I think the defense, especially the front seven, has got some excellent building blocks. I mean, obviously Jeff Simmons is, Pro Bowler this year, and he's one of the best in the league at his position. I think Tavondre Sweat has gotten better this year when he's been on the field. You've got Cedric Gray at linebacker, who's been a revelation this year, young guy with a huge upside. I think you've got good pieces to build there. I think at corner, you're going to need to bulk up a little bit, especially in depth. But really, to me, it's still all about Cam Ward. And as the offensive line continues to be bolstered, I think the receivers right now it may be the worst receiver room in the league. And I'm not saying guys aren't trying hard. I'm just saying that from a talent level and production standpoint, this receiver group is not helping the quarterback. And when you've got one excellent receiver, that guy can make a quarterback look really good. If you've got that excellent receiver and two more guys that are very, very good, all of a sudden things tend to open up because now you can create matchup advantages. So, look at Jefferson for the Vikings. Everybody tries to take him away, and they still can't do it. But then Addison and other guys for the Vikings are out there against lesser coverage guys, and they're able to win because they're not facing the best cover corner on the opposing defense most of the time. And so the Titans just don't have that kind of threat level in depth at receiver. When they get it, it'll make it a lot easier for Cam Ward, not just because the guys will be more open, but because they'll make more of the boring plays that move the chains and allow the play caller to then use counters off of those plays and deceptions off of those plays and all the things that you do when you string together a bunch of first downs. And the Titans really aren't able to do that right now. And a big reason is nobody fears their wide receivers.
We're talking to Trevor Matich, and Trevor, I'll shift over to the college ranks here. And I have pronounced myself over the years as an SEC snob, having played in the league, not in football, but you always are biased that way. We know how the perception of the SEC football is they're better than everybody else. But, of course, they haven't won the last two national titles. And we had a really good caller yesterday sort of laying out the draw with Texas A&M going down. There's a real chance because Ole Miss and Georgia play each other, and they may not win it again. How much do you think the perception of the SEC is at stake here as we move forward in this draw?
Willie, I think a lot of people want to hate the SEC. I think the desire to hate is strong. It's like the desire to hate the Yankees, right? I mean,
yes.
You don't really hate the Blue Jays, do you? Or the Brewers. But, man, you want to hate the Yankees if you don't love them. And I think that's the way it is with the SEC. And you're right, the way things are now, Ole Miss and Georgia do play each other. The winner of that game will play the winner of Miami and Ohio State, and both of those teams are national championship caliber. And then the remaining SEC team is Alabama. They face Indiana. And Indiana doesn't have any weaknesses. So you're right, this could end up knocking the SEC out of the national championship for the third straight year. And if it does, I don't think it changes the reality of the SEC. I mean, in the 12-team playoff, there were 3 Big Ten teams and 5 SEC teams to start it. The reality remains the same, but the perception, I think people will want the perception to change, and you'll hear about it for 365 days until somebody wins the next national championship. That's great about college football because, love and hate are very close together. And I don't think it matters for college football if it's loved or if teams or conferences are loved or they're hated. as long as people are not indifferent. And so I'll take the hate all day long if I'm the SEC.
For sure. Do you think Alabama found their groove? They had not played well in a good while, and then they find themselves down 17. What did you think of the way they rallied, and will that be a momentum builder for them?
Yeah, it looked like in the beginning when they trailed 17-0 to Oklahoma, that Alabama was kind of soft and buttery and doughy and weak and just not altogether very interested in being awesome. And they had lost in the last, or they won in the last game of the regular season, a tight one to Auburn, who's not very good this year. And then in the SEC championship game the next week, Georgia pasted them, held Alabama to -3 rushing yards, -3 rushing yards in the SEC championship game. Okay. Then they go down 17-0 in the next game to Oklahoma. And it's like, okay, well, Alabama's going to get run out of the building. And all they did next was outscore Oklahoma 34-7. And it looked like the kind of physical, intimidating Alabama teams that we saw under Nick Saban. Now, they're not quite that talented right now, especially when you talk about the running game and things like that. But you had that look, you had that feel that Alabama figured out how to play like Alabama. And that is their chance against Indiana, because Indiana is just too skilled for Alabama to keep up with, I think, especially on offense. Indiana, keep this in mind, had 6 games of 300-plus rushing yards. 6 games where Indiana rushed for over 300 yards, in addition to their Heisman Trophy-winning quarterback throwing the ball, right? Well, Alabama can't run the ball, so they're not there yet. But sometimes fury and anger and just pure raw aggression can knock skill onto their backside. And that's what Bama needs to do. And they did that to Oklahoma when they went on that 34-7 run.
Trevor, I'm curious what you think the Michigan search is going to look like here. I just got sent a note from our producer, David Janes, about maybe some rumors about Jeff Brom as a guy that could be emerging now that Louisville is going to be done. Where do you think that search is headed?
Yeah, Jeff Brom would be great for Michigan. I mean, he's a brilliant offensive mind. He's a brilliant mentor of quarterbacks. I don't know that he'd want to go, though, because really Louisville can pay him about what Michigan can. And the thing about Brom is that his family in the city of Louisville is royalty. I mean, the Brom brothers' father is a legendary high school coach. The brothers all played quarterback for Louisville. And if Jeff Brom stays there and then wins, pulls off a few ACC championships over time, stuff like that, makes a run in the playoffs once in a while, they won't just name the field after him. They'll probably name the stadium after him. And there's a legacy. I mean, you bring your grandkids to the stadium named after you and show them your statue out front. Or you go to Michigan, make about the same amount of money, and if you don't win at a high enough level soon enough, well, you get bounced, and then what do you do? So, he may want to go to Michigan. He may think he's got a better opportunity to get to a national championship there. All the things that playing at a program like Michigan or coaching at a program offer you. But the question is, in this day and age, is it really the better choice for the long-term trajectory of your career? And that's what Michigan's facing. Now, I think they'll have choices of good coaches at Michigan. And I think really whoever takes the job will have more upside potential, a higher ceiling than they did with Sharon Moore, the coach that just got fired for personal reasons. And, because Moore, when you watch that team play, they had a high floor. I mean, they played well, but the way they play, it just didn't seem like the ceiling was all that high from a standpoint of competing at the top tier of college football and winning those games on the way to a national championship. And so I think that Michigan will long-term end up with a better opportunity to win at the highest levels than they would have with Sharon Moore. But I don't know if Brom would be the guy, because even though he'd be good for them, I don't know that he would think they would be good for him.
Talking to ESPN's Trevor Matich. Trevor, I'm curious on your thoughts on this. In the opening rounds of the college football playoff, we saw, I understand it's a rare case of this, but we saw 2 group of 5 teams get in. Tulane didn't ever seem to really put up a fight against Ole Miss. JMU seemed to put up a little bit more of a fight towards the end towards Oregon, and still couldn't get it done. And a lot of people are calling for the elimination of the group of 5 being in the college football playoff. I'm curious of your thoughts on this. How do you handle this situation? And would you consider making a full group of 5 college football playoff separate from the current college football playoff?
I think that would be an interesting thing. I mean, the NIT still exists in basketball, right? And I think there's there are ways to maximize finances besides just trying to compete in the playoff for the group of 5. But I think the way that Tulane and James Madison lost will provide a catalyst towards making changes in the way there are automatic bids for the top 5 highest ranked conference champions. One thing you could do is just go to 16 teams, and that would solve the problem most of the time. Another thing you could do is go to the top 4 highest ranked conference champions instead of the top 5, which still keeps the door open for the group of 5. But as this gets done, there's 2 things to remember. The first one is the law, because you don't want to run afoul of collusion and monopoly statutes, which is possible, and certainly they'll be in court if they do things the group of 5 considers to be exclusionary. The other is, up until this year or up until next year, the way that the big changes in the playoff were made had to be by consensus, which means you had to have approval of the group of 5 in order to make big changes. Starting next year, the Big Ten and the SEC will make all the decisions. And so if everybody else disagrees with what those 2 conferences do, it doesn't matter. They'll do it anyway. But they've got to do it in a way that doesn't put them in court. And so these are some ways that they might be able to achieve that.
The Ole Miss and Georgia game, I know they played during the season. Georgia ended up winning that game. It was a high-scoring game. How do you see this game going now, this go-around?
That's a great question, because when they played in the regular season, the Georgia defense couldn't stop Trinidad Chambliss, the Ole Miss quarterback, for the first 3 quarters. I mean, he was their leading rusher. He was great through the air, and they scored 35 points in 3 quarters against Georgia. But then in the 4th quarter, Georgia shut them down. Ole Miss didn't score in the 4th quarter, and Chambliss threw 10 passes, completed 1 of them for 1 yard. And that really marked the turnaround for the Georgia defense, because mid-season, prior to that point, Georgia's defense really struggled in some ways, especially in playing the downfield pass. And that's one of the ways that Chambliss burned them in the first 3 quarters there. But then in the second half of the season, they tightened it up tremendously, and they became one of the best overall defenses in college football. And the last 4 games that Georgia played, the highest score by an opposing offense was 10 points. That's it. No one scored more than 10 points. No one scored 2 touchdowns in the last 4 games. That's how good Georgia has become. So Chambliss, in order to win this game, has to be even better than he was the first time around. And he will be better because, he's got, 6 or so extra starts under his belt. But Georgia's defense is a completely different animal than it was when they played the first time. And so, to me, this is a really tall order for Ole Miss.
He's ESPN's Trevor Matich, brought to you by Houston Clinic Orthopedics, where experience matters. Trevor, thank you again for the time. We have thoroughly enjoyed the football conversation. Happy holidays to you, and we'll talk to you soon.
Happy holidays to you guys. I appreciate you having me on. Thank you.
No
Trevor Matich, again, brought to you by Houston Clinic Orthopedics, when experience matters. We'll step aside, come back, react to some of what Trevor had to say. Plus, I want to take the conversation based on the ideas he gave us on the G5. Should they get their own playoff? We'll discuss that coming up next, right here on DVD on 102.5 The Game.
watch. Can't you see that I'm busy?
Begin and Tonic here on 102.5 The Game. A little bit of SpongeBob SquarePants bringing us back. The college football game of the week is Penn State versus Clemson in the Pinstripe Bowl this Saturday at 11 a.m. on 102.5 The Game. Coverage presented by Circa Sportsbook Kentucky and is also available on the Game Nashville app and theGameNashville.com. Also, the NFL game of the week is the Cowboys versus the Commanders on Christmas Day at noon p.m. on 102.5 The Game. The NFL game of the week presented by Circa Sportsbook Kentucky and Massaro in 12 South. Connor Newt, Derek Mason, Willie Donick here with you on this fine Tuesday, the day before Christmas Eve, which I believe is the Festivus. Correct me if I'm wrong. Festivus for the rest of us. If you have ever seen Seinfeld.
I wasn't a Seinfeld.
I wasn't either, but I've seen that episode. So.
Or better known as Christmas Adam.
Yes.
The airing of grievances, I believe,
Yes.
is involved in that. I have no idea about the date.
The feats
I
of
did see
strength.
the episode.
Yes. The feats of strength. I asked Trevor an interesting question that I was curious to hear his thoughts on. And that's, should the group of five in the college football playoff have a completely separate playoff from the national contenders? And I only asked that because of the results that were put on this week. JMU, I mean, they kind of competed with Oregon, but not really. Tulane had no shot from the jump against Ole Miss. And a lot of people are just clamoring for the group of five to just be eliminated from the college football playoff. And I understand how the rules work. You got to take the five best conference winners. Two of those were group of five winners. But I'm curious on your thoughts on this, gentlemen. And I'll start with Willie. Should the group of five be eliminated from the current college football playoff and created in a separate bracket?
For years, I was open-minded to having that some representation from those conferences. I think it's only fair if you're going to have a true national champion. There could be once in 20 years that a team from one of those conferences is actually good enough to win it, or at least to win a game or two. But there's so much momentum right now I think the game has changed a lot. I think the way that the NIL is going, it's going to be even tougher than it was, and it was hard 20 or 30 years ago. But I think it's even tougher now. You got to win 4 games. And so I do wonder if you could make it work monetarily, and maybe that's the compromise, that you make those conferences realize that financially there's going to be a benefit from doing it this way. But I wonder if those conferences, if the money's the same, would they like to play for their own championship rather than just get their brains beat out most years in the big bracket? I think what we found, at least from the people's standpoint, they don't feel the same way about it as they do the basketball, right? Nobody wants to see those games. And so they're ready for something different.
Well, okay, we got to ask ourselves this. We understand that people want to see the Power Four playoff. That's a given. That's what everybody tunes in to see. Power Four in their playoff. They're going to watch the bowl games, yeah. Do we, or do the majority of, say, college football fans watch any other playoffs? College football playoff. Are the numbers big?
Yeah. I think it's going to be impacted by what ratings look like for games.
Exactly.
But
and this is what I'm saying.
Right.
Everybody wants to see the Power Four. Nobody, even what is it, FCS? FCS has their own playoff. Do you think they get the eyes that would be warranted for you to then start a Power 5 championship? Because you're looking at it, whether it be the American Conference, Conference USA, MAC, Mountain West, Pac-12, what's left of it, and Sun Belt. Realistically, if they had a playoff with these teams, who would watch?
Not many people.
And that is going to be the problem. The money that it wouldn't bring.
Yeah.
You would have to pump a lot of money, even with NIL and guys transferring. I get all that. But you would have to pump a lot of money in order to get this to a point where the investment is worth it.
Yeah.
Because right now, maybe there's a lot of people watching FCS playoffs. Maybe it is. But then are you going to watch it when the Power 4 playoff is going on?
Right.
It's just hard to fit in. That's the point
hard.
with me.
It's
it's hard to fit it in with the NFL, basketball, it's hard to then fit in a Power 5 playoff.
Yeah.
Right. Trevor used the term NIT, and I'm
Yes.
sensitive to that because I was on a team that won the NIT right back in the day. So the NIT was a great experience, but I'm not kidding anybody. I mean, we know that it's very different to make the NCAA tournament. I think, like, what if you made it? Would you pay, if you're a Power 4, would you pay a chunk of money to essentially open those spots up and make those teams go away? Like, say, we're going to pay you to make it worth your while. I don't want to use a divorce or something like that as a reference, but like as part of the settlement, the split, right? We're going to pay you handsomely to have this tournament. You guys are going to get paid. I don't know who's going to watch. Some of that's up to you. Make it exciting. Hopefully you'll get your chunk of people watching. But we need those spots for this playoff. What do you think of that?
Well, they would have to have the networks buy in, because ultimately it's the networks that are going to maybe they take a chunk out of what the networks are giving them. And then, it's sort of like what the NBA did with the WNBA.
Yeah.
Take a chunk or, divvy it, whatever it is, to help float this until the numbers come in.
Yeah.
You can get a bigger contract, and then there you go. So it's going to have to be the networks that agrees to this. And then if the Power 4 wants to help, to say, like you said, Willie, okay, here's a parting gift for y'all.
Yeah.
This is what we're giving y'all as a parting gift, along with the networks going into business and giving these contracts, whether it be a 5-10-year deal, to then, run these, what would be the Power 5 playoffs.
Yeah. I think it would also impact, if this is ESPN, are they going to put it on a secondary network while the real college football playoff is on? Or if it's CBS, are they going to put it on their primary network over college basketball?
It's just going to be hard and maybe this is just me, because I know, and I'm not discrediting the FCS playoffs. I'm not.
Right.
But I'm not watching it. And I know everybody's not like me, but there can't be like a overwhelming, appetite for the FCS playoffs.
Right.
So if that's the case, then what would be the appetite for a Power 5 playoff? Everybody's screaming, everybody's saying they need to get their own playoffs, and maybe they do. I'm not saying they don't, but okay, we get our own playoffs. Who's watching?
Right. And is it worth it to sacrifice your spot in a national stage for still a national stage? You're going to be on national television regardless, but kind of a secondary tournament. That's kind of the argument here. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. Phone and text lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com if you want to get involved in the conversation. Looking for a great spot to pregame before the final Titans home game of the season? Stop by John Bon Jovi's and pregame with 1025 The Game and D-Mace. JBJ says the best food on Broadway, cold beer and cocktails, and stunning skyline views, including 2 epic rooftops. Pregame show is brought to you by Parman Tractor and Equipment and Circa Sportsbook, Kentucky. Reading is hard, folks. We'll step aside. When we come back, Jonathan Hutton of Outkick will join the program to talk a little bit about college football and the NFL. That's all coming up next right here on DVD on 1025 The Game. Hour number 2 of D. Mace, Vingen, and Donick, broadcasting from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game National Studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Adam Vingen out today, starting his holiday a little bit early. Connor Newt, Derek Mason, Willie Donick in with you on your drive home today. We usually do this on Wednesdays, but since we are off the rest of the week, let's go ahead and bring in our good friend Jonathan Hutton of Outkick to have a little conversation with us about college and the NFL in the world of football. Jonathan, what's going on?
What's going on, guys? Merry Christmas. Happy holidays.
Yes, you
Merry
too.
Christmas.
Yeah, let's start with the Titans, actually. The Titans, to me, are weighing two options right here. Either you continue to lose, and I realize this is more of a front office standpoint than a player and coach standpoint.
Yeah.
Either you continue to lose, protect your draft capital, and fold it for next season, or you see what you have out there, continue to develop your young quarterback who you drafted at number 1 overall, and do your best to compete. I think there's a world where you can do both at the same time. But if we're looking at the extreme ends of the spectrum, what do you think you would do if you were in charge of making this decision for the Titans?
I mean, I would want the number 1 pick.
Right.
I would want the number 1 pick. And, with the ability to control the narrative of the draft and the price tag of what that pick will represent. I mean, there's no guarantee where the Titans will be selecting that the quarterback's there. There's a quarterback draft, and then there's the regular NFL draft. So, I mean, right now, I would presume the Titans are probably staring down an elite player, which is not a bad spot for them because they need plenty of them. But that's the point. They need plenty of those players, not just one addition to turn the corner. But ultimately, I mean, I don't want to ever see a team tank, right? I'm not for that. So, I mean, yes, the roster, the locker room, the coaching staff, everyone should be professional about this than they have been. But if we're really talking about like steps forward, you got to pair this current rookie class with another one that's going to be impactful within the first 100 picks. You know, I don't know how the win impacts the future of the team. Maybe for a week, but not next season. The majority of these players aren't going to be back, and there's not proof of concept when we don't even know who the coaching staff is going to be represented by with the head coach. So, I mean, we do know, though, that the young players, I think this is the positive. We do know that the young players on this team who will be on this team next year are mentally tough and focused on winning. That's a good sign.
Yeah, it is indeed. And you mentioned coaching. Obviously, we don't know who the next guy is going to be, but is there a guy out there you think would fit the mold of developing a young quarterback in Cam Ward?
I think there are plenty of them. The question is pairing when you say young quarterback, I know you mentioned Ward specifically. That's the key, is pairing him with the right coordinator. I don't know if there are more than a handful of true, and Mace, weigh on this, more than a handful of offensive-minded coaches who can just like plug and play like we saw in Chicago this year. You know, like, and that's the talent of Caleb Williams. But by the way, Caleb Williams and Cam Ward are selected in the same pick. So, you know, that's the standard here that we're talking about. Pairing a true number 1 coach with a number 1 quarterback. That's the number 1 overall pick. They have to get this right. And if they go the interesting part of this is all the defensive coordinator names that are being thrown out there. Most of the time, I mean, you have a spot where young head coaches, for the first time head coaches, don't really have the staff background put together. You know, like Vrabel was waiting on Ryan Day, and then he ends up staying at Ohio State. He's like the coach in waiting or whatever. And so John Robinson ends up going, with one of his previous interviews, because Vrabel didn't have anyone to turn to at that time. That's interesting to see if they go young defensive coordinator hire to the head coach, who that offensive coordinator is going to be paired with the head coach. That's crucial. And a lot of times, I mean, it's not like the young coaches come in with a huge list of assistants. It burned Callahan. He hired a lot of his friends.
Now, look, at the beginning of the season, we, talked about a few guys that needed to take a step on this team. Obviously,
Yeah.
JC was one of those guys because he was moving
Yes.
from left to right. Peter, and we're talking about young guys. But more
Yes.
importantly, I thought, based on the weapons that Cam was going to have for the season, I thought Chig was a guy that needed to take another step, and then Tajay was a guy that they needed to take another step as well.
Yes.
I think
Yes.
both of those guys have taken a step to prove that at least they should be thought of heavily. Now I know Tajay Spears got another year under his rookie deal, but Chig will be a free agent. Has he done enough for the Titans to think this offseason, hey, we need to bring him back? Not as the number one, because I think ultimately Gunnar Helm is going to be that guy.
I do too.
But bringing back Chigakonkwo, a guy he seems to be comfortable with. And we talked to TD yesterday, and Chig may be the best guy after the catch on the Titans.
That's great perspective there. But I'm always wanting more from him, and it's not all on him.
Yes,
it's not all on him. Like you say, is he worth bringing back? If I'm him, I'm thinking, is it worth me staying if they're not going to focus on getting me the ball more? Because I think it's a great point by TD. Look, I think there's an absolute role for him. I would say if I'm him, I'm waiting to find out the staff, and is it going to be 12 personnel? Is it going to be run based? Is it going to be, we'll see. That benefits him more if it is that, and Tajay Spears, by the way, I mean, he provides another explosive, athletic chain mover, right? The NFL is a 2-back league. And this offense really missed his skill set early in the season. And Sunday was the first time he had both 50 yards receiving and rushing in the same game. And the impact was seen on that long touchdown drive, 72, 73 yards on that 90-yard drive. And then, paired with Pollard, who wasn't used much early in the season. There were lopsided scores and other things, and a mindset mentality of who's calling plays. Now he's got fresh legs. He's got 3 straight games with over 100 yards. That production in the backfield, I think, is proof of concept that it's helping Cam Ward, who's not having to throw the ball nearly as much. He was averaging, Mace, 35 pass attempts a game through the first half of the season. Since week 12, I think he's, or I know over the last 3 weeks specifically, all of those games have been under 30 attempts, which is great for a rookie quarterback. They were putting him in a bad spot to begin with kind of the philosophy of passes and set up the run.
Yeah, so if looking at Cam and looking at this offense, and listen, they haven't won many games. I think it's been 2 since the bye. They got both of their wins, but they've looked at times like an NFL offense, so to speak, at least, especially the last couple of weeks. So do you see, at least after the half, after the bye week, do you see some development in there in Cam as well as the offense to make you think, okay, if we add more pieces, it may not happen automatically like it did for New England or Chicago, but we will put ourselves in a better space than we were the year prior.
Yeah, I mean, it's worth bringing up for New England because Drake May took a huge step forward, huge, but also coordinator. They pair him with Josh McDaniels. Look, I thought the way the entire team played this past game is what everyone wants to see more of. It emphasizes that true improvements are being made. And for Cam Ward specifically, this was encouraging. I mean, he put up the start to finish performance I've been looking for. It provides room for optimism over cynicism. And it provides room for him to authentically claim more of a leadership role of the team. And I say that authentically instead of just it being handed a C, right? He's playing his best football of the season without question. And winning the game allows for everyone to see progress instead of week to week struggles that it has been for him throughout his rookie season. But, he's 15 games in now. He's played a full college season now. And it's great to see some signs of life from a quarterback who truly he needed results to pair with his work ethic that he brings every day to the facility. He's extremely talented. The intangible qualities that you want in your franchise quarterback are there with him. So now pair him with the right coach and coordinator and let Borgonzi run the show to improve the roster around their quarterback. But as for Ward, he's beginning to find his footing a bit, I think. And that provides the Titans with an opportunity to win, I believe, back-to-back games for the first time since November of 2022. It's been a while. So yeah, I think there are signs of improvement, Mace. But what I think it's good for the rookie class and the foundation that they have started or tried to start. I credit the players really. I'm hearing a lot. And look, interim coach, it's not an easy job. But this team, I think the leadership example of Jeffrey Simmons was huge here.
Talk with Jonathan Hutton, Outkick. Now, what do you make of the defense? How do you think? Because listen, Denard Wilson, he's totally behind the 8 ball right now with the
no doubt, man.
With the injuries that they've had over the last couple of weeks. They lost another guy, Harris, their starting nickel this past weekend. So now he's basically playing with guys that, frankly, were not going to play at all or much this season. But how do you think he's doing as a coordinator? And should he get a real serious look at one of the guys that they potentially, encourage the new coach to bring back? Because I think one of those guys is going to be Bones Fossil. If you don't bring him back, something's wrong with you. But you look at Denard and what he's sort of been able to do with patchwork defense, especially the secondary.
Man, I what they've tried to do, because again, like it's the numbers are going to be the numbers, right? The players, though, are not going to be listed next to those numbers when it's all said and done. I think he's done a nice job given the situation. Like the defense was doing their fair share of providing an opportunity to win football games this season for the majority of the stretch where the offense couldn't put up or muster 13 points a game. That's a very, very low bar for the offense to try to muster whenever the defense is just trying to keep their opponent to less than 13. I mean, that's not NFL quality, right? That paired with all the injuries and different things that have happened. Yeah, I think given the circumstance, it's, at worst, it's just an incomplete given the situation. At best, he's done a nice job to get another opportunity to be a DC. And whenever they hired him, he was Denard was going through the league process of how they pre-vet coaches with the league office. He was doing that because he was going to be a part of the cycle that would get some interviews for head coach at the time. Last year was last year. Results are results, and he deserves a real shot with a healthier roster for sure.
Talking to Jonathan Hutton. Hutton, you mentioned Pollard. Like 3 weeks ago, I would have said 100%
washed up. He's
not back with the Titans, and he'll be one of those backs that is at a certain age that has trouble finding a place to land. Now it seems completely different. We know the Titans have almost money to burn. They've got so much money that they have the luxury of bringing some guys back who aren't great players, but if you want to keep some continuity, would you consider Pollard at all? Just keeping him around?
Yes, on the right deal, yes. But I look at the money. So, Willie, I think they have to be very intentional with how they go about their free agency here. Just because they have a bunch of money. I mean, Rand was spending money on practically every player, and every player was overpaid. I think they need to go in with the focus and mindset of identifying where they're going to find some hits. That you're not going to hit home runs in free agency, but you can find a base hit with Tony Pollard. You can also, there are no home runs, but there are plenty of strikeouts, and the Titans have had those. So, I view this as at that position, I'm not going to invest a ton of money. I'm going young. That's one of my draft picks is what I'm saying. And I view the wide receiver the same way. Same as pass rusher. I mean, they need a lot. I know they need a lot in the off season, and they can't do it all in one off season now. We've heard that a lot, but that's because of what they've addressed in free agency or haven't addressed. Running back. No, I mean, I on the right price, Willie, I'm bringing him back. But again, I don't know why they didn't lean more on the run to help the rookie quarterback. But part of it was just separation of score, right, on the scoreboard. They're throwing the football. But, Brian Callahan wasn't really trying to establish the run at all. And I think that's credit to the interim staff to give him more opportunities in the backfield now. because it's impacted the overall play of the offensive line. It helps pass protection because you're not in third and longs, and they've been able to establish a run recently. The O-line's a part of this too, but Pollard's been leading the way. He's a true pro. I like his approach week in and week out. He just he's a lunch pill type guy. He's not going to be. Tajay Spears is more of the vocal guy. Pollard is lead by example, and I think he does a great job of that.
All right, I'm giving you two guys. You have a choice, one or the other, or you can say punt both of them.
Okay.
Who would you rather have back, Chig or Cushenberry? To me, those are two other guys that they could make a decision on one way or the other. They have other guys, right, that they could use, but again, in the name of continuity.
In the name of continuity, I'm leaning Cushenberry. Only because of the offensive line that has been addressed so much in recent off seasons, right? But as far as availability goes, Chig. So, I'm leaning offensive line just to try to find some continuity because they haven't had that. But Willie, the upside for Chigakonkwo is still there. And again, I just got through saying like they haven't done well in free agency. They're going to go address center somewhere else. But it's one big position that they would leave open that they just spent big money on. I would have to give that another run if you had one or the other.
The devil kind of thing. Like I'm curious where they go with some of those guys, right?
Yeah, okay, I got one. Just be adequate, right? Just like they're doing okay. And again, like the veteran center with a young quarterback, I like that.
All right, one SEC snob question: How much is on the line here? If we know Ole Miss and Georgia, somebody's going down. Alabama's got a really tough draw on the other side of the bracket.
Yeah.
If they're going to make it, they'd be lucky to survive one more week. If they beat Indiana, that'd be huge. But they'd still have to win another game. There's a chance that the SEC doesn't even have a team in the final here. So, what about the reputation?
It's the chance from outside the conference will be louder than ever about the presence of the Big Ten at the top heavy Big Ten. But the top heavy Big Ten is adding more pieces to that group, to that tier now with Indiana. And I would point to, they 3 teams in for the Big Ten this year. SEC got 3 in last year. Yeah, I mean, it's been, you want to take the small amount of teams that the Big Ten's going to put in, or the group of 5 or however, 5 teams that they got in this year for the SEC. I would take the Big Ten going into this playoff. I mean, and I know that, we're going to see some, it's really Georgia or Ole Miss against Indiana potentially, unless Alabama pulls an upset, which I don't see happening. But the reputation is that. I mean, they would be 3 straight championships for the Big Ten, and it would be potentially 3 straight championship games without an SEC representative playing for the title, which is also unheard of.
Talking to Jonathan Hutton of Outkick. Hutton, as we let you go, I got one more question for you. I just asked these guys this question. I asked Trevor Matich earlier. When it comes to the group of 5 representatives in the college football playoff, do you feel it's still a deserved position, knowing what we know and knowing what we've seen the past 2 years from that representative? Or do you feel they should, do their own thing, maybe make their own group of 5 college football playoff?
I would love the group of 5 college football playoff. And there's reports out that 18 months ago now, Big Ten and the SEC flexed and said, we'll just do our own thing if you guys don't vote our way. But, the political game of this changes now because the SEC and the Big Ten will run the college football playoff. They already do, but the decision factors are just them. In the past, the group of 5 have been used as chess pieces to get votes on your side because this the college football playoff management team or whatever they call themselves. There's 11 representatives there, 1 from each conference, and that's either a president, a chancellor, or an AD. And you've got this year on that board, you've got Tulane's represented, I believe. You've got random teams, let's just put it that way, and not football people, but business minded people from these group of 5. So you get more votes on your side to expand from 4 to 12, to expand from 12 to 14. That's how they're going about this, and they use it as leverage against teams like Notre Dame, who hold the same amount of voting power currently. But moving forward, yeah, they could be voted out. And let's be honest here too. ESPN's going to make this decision. They own the playoff, and if they don't like the return on investment, because they're outsourcing these games now. They sold these 2 games to TNT and Turner. If they're not going to get the big payday to air these games and sell them, chances are they'll get rid of those matchups and get rid of the blowouts. But the blowouts have happened a lot. Like it's just not expected, is how I would term it. And when we had the 14 playoff, we had a lot of blowouts. But we didn't go into the game thinking it was going to be unwatchable by halftime. And I did with both of these matchups this year.
He's Jonathan Hutton of Outkick, joining the program every Wednesday. We obviously moved it up a day as we're out the rest of the week. Hutton, Merry Christmas to you. Thanks for joining us, and we'll talk to you very soon.
Merry Christmas, guys. And I look forward to chatting with you next week.
Absolutely.
Will do. Jonathan Hutton of Outkick joining the program. He joins every Wednesday here on DVD. 615-737-1025 is the phone number if you want to get involved in the conversation. Coming up next, you both asked questions that piqued my interest, and I want to address those on the other side right here on D-Mace, Vingen, and Donick DVD here on 1025 The Game. Jason Big Joe will be broadcasting live at the all-new Circus Sportsbook Kentucky in Mint Gaming Hall this Monday prior to the Monday Night Football game. The Monday night matchup is the Rams versus the Falcons. Welcome back, DVD, here on 102.5 The Game. Connor Newt, Derek Mason, Willie Donick, and Breezy bringing us back, which I didn't know he had a Christmas song.
Oh, yeah, he's had this Christmas. It was a part of a movie that he was in. Was it something Christmas? I think
Isn't it this Christmas?
Yeah, this Christmas.
Was it
The
a
same as the
Hallmark
song. No, it wasn't a Hallmark movie. It could have been on Hallmark, but it wasn't
sounds
a
like
Hallmark, movie. Yeah,
It's a really good movie.
It was a good movie. Yeah, it's really
Hey,
good. I still,
Steven.
it's a part of my Christmas tradition. Best Man Holiday, this Christmas, The Christmas Story. Everybody watched The Christmas Story. If you don't, then
I don't.
oh my goodness,
That's
no.
on
You
about a
can't
million
exactly.
times.
It's on a million times, so you can't help but watch it at least once. And
Oh, yeah.
then everybody's. I'm not trying to start an argument, but Die Hard.
Yeah,
I do like Die Hard on Christmas Eve. I don't know why. I do like it.
So
I
those
always
are
watch
that's
that.
my Christmas package.
I mean, it's hard to miss Christmas Story because I think starting tomorrow,
Yes.
it's on, I think,
24 hours. It's a 24-hour
TBS
marathon.
for like,
Oh, yeah.
24 straight hours. It's pretty ridiculous.
You guys, are you spinning the tunes today? Is this your playlist for the Christmas? You're doing a good job here.
It's a part of the list that we all
was-
sent.
Yeah, it was so apart from last week.
Last week's
I
list.
played one of your songs at the start. I couldn't
I did
find
hear
the.
that. Yeah.
But yeah, I had to throw in a SpongeBob reference. I had to throw in like a D-Mace music, and I'm gonna throw a little bit
I
more.
didn't know
We'll
if it was
see.
a D-Mace takeover. I wanted to know if it was a D-Mace takeover.
Oh, it was not. It was
No, not a
D-Mace
demon.
takeover.
Now I can, we can lean that way. I can just start
Oh
singing
yeah,
Christmas
you're
songs,
capable of taking
bam.
over. Yeah.
We can do that. It's no big deal.
It's basically David James is the disc jockey, and he's just taking requests.
Man, I hadn't heard that in a long time.
disc
That
jockey.
phrase, disc jockey.
Disc jockey. I
Do they still use that phrase? I guess so. You use
probably
it, Connor.
probably not in my lifetime, but I used it. So, anyways, you guys both asked some interesting questions in terms of the Titans to Hut. And D-Mace, I'll start with yours. You asked about Chig. Chig coming back, or maybe it was Willie, one of you two. I think it was Willie, actually. Sorry. Willie, you asked about Chig returning and what kind of an impact he has provided this season and what he could do next season. I'm curious of your thoughts on that because it sounds like you're in favor of bringing back Chig Okonkwo.
I would go to Chig and I would say, look, you could probably get a pretty good coin on the open market. People are going to be intrigued with you. They might say, in our system, you're going to go to the next level. But there's also a chance he could go somewhere and flop. I'm really curious what the market looks like for him. The Titans have enough money to bring him back. And I think he and Gunnar Helm, if they continue to play together, in theory, that could be really good. Like if you lose Chig, you're just going to go out and try to find another guy, or maybe you'll draft. You don't have a million draft picks. Like the most convenient thing is to replace him with a younger, cheaper player that maybe just has just enough upside or as much upside. But somewhere in here, you need some continuity. Like none of these guys are great, but they're not bad. I threw this out to D-Mace and Adam earlier this week. At the right price, I wouldn't mind having Chig. I don't know if he blocks the progress of Gunnar Helm. I think, both together could be pretty good, especially if they improve a little bit more.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think you're kind of looking for, what Chig is at this point. He's been serviceable this year and arguably maybe the best run after catch performer on the Titans team. But you know what he is. He's not going to be a Hall of Fame level tight end. Gunnar Helm, I don't think he's going to be a Hall of Fame level tight end either, but he's progressing and he's shown results and he's shown that he's capable of development. So for the right price, I agree with you, Willie. I would consider bringing Chig back. I wouldn't break the piggy bank over him, but I would consider
got to be the right price.
Right. But I don't want it to stop the progression of Gunnar Helm. I would also kind of look at both of them and think, okay, what are the skills of both of them? Chig is more of maybe wide receiver level talent or traits, I should say. He's fast, but he doesn't do some of the things that most tight ends in the league do, and that's block. Gunnar Helm, I think, lacks a little bit in the speed and the pass catching ability, but he's capable of blocking. So maybe it's good for the Titans to have one of each, one that's capable of doing both. And I think a lot of that will depend on what does the new head coach want to do.
Yeah, and Chig is a interesting one. One, he's on the last year of a rookie deal. And then two, like Trevor said, like Hut said, and we've said it a lot on on the show, it's almost like you're wanting more from Chig. Like, we know there's more you can give us. Like, this is not the full plate.
Right.
There's more you can give us, but you're not giving it to us. I think, like Willie said, on a team-friendly contract, because I don't think he may get more out on the open market, maybe just a little bit more. But I think if he stays here, he's already built a rapport with Cam. Now, if he goes off and get another contract or a bigger contract with a winning team and a team that looks like they're on their way to the Super Bowl, okay, I can get with that. I understand that. But if you're just trading one team that's, developing for another team that may be a step ahead of them, nah.
Yeah.
Or half a step, nah. I'm staying here. I built a rapport with the quarterback. The quarterback he's starting to find out I am a player for him. So if that's the case, team-friendly deal, I would think about seriously bringing back Chig, because it accomplishes, I think, one of the things that Borgonzi talked about are two. It's draft and retain. They didn't draft him. He developed, but I think it encompasses not two, but all of them. They didn't draft him, but he was a draft pick.
Right.
They helped sort of to develop him.
He's still young.
And then now they're able to retain him because he's playing well enough to be retained. So I think Borgonzi and this staff should look at this, and the new coach coming in, that he's already built a rapport with your quarterback. If you can get him on a team-friendly deal, it may even be – Jonnu signed a deal, I think, after he went to New England. I think it was a 1 or 2 year deal after he went to New England, because he went to Miami. And he was able to parlay that to a bigger contract. That could be Chigakonkwo, sign a 2-year deal. Maybe it's a 1-year improve-it deal. Give him a little bit of money up front because you have it. Give him a little bit more and see what he does after that. Yeah. Another year with Cam. Cam's developing more. I think he could be that 1-2 punch that you need from a tight end position, a la Likely and Andrews in Baltimore.
Yeah, and maybe that's something you put into the contract. Maybe we'll say, we'll give you this amount of money, but we're going to throw in a team option. And if you don't deliver to the way we expect you to, we can exercise that option and we'll see you elsewhere. 615-737-1025. Let's go to our phone lines, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Mike is on the line waiting patiently. Mike, go ahead.
How you doing? And Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you.
You know, I've asked you guys this question a lot of times. You know, we're talking about players and next year's draft. We lost number one, which makes me mad because we beat the Chiefs and lost the number one pick. And so if we win the next 2 games, we're going to go down to maybe 10, 12, who knows, in picks. But the question now is, since we've lost a bunch of picks, who's going to be the coach? And then who is going to be the staff? Is Amy Adams Struck going to let this new coach, who she picks, because that's going to have to be signed off by her, and what is he going to come in demanding? Will he demand that, look, everything I do is my staff and my picks? Will she do that? And then who do you guys think should be the number one guy for coach?
Thanks for the call, Mike. I appreciate it. I understand what he's saying.
Mm-hmm.
I think I know what he's saying, actually. He's saying that by losing a top 3 pick, allegedly, this job is now less attractive. To that, I would respond, it's 1 of 32. And the other part is the Titans didn't lose any draft capital. They lost the opportunity to draft number 1 overall. They still got a first-round pick. That's still something that a coach, probably in the upper echelon of the first round, can look at and say, let's go get our guy.
I think people are looking at it from this standpoint, and rightfully so. People think if the Titans don't get the number 1 pick, it's not about who they draft.
Yeah, it's about what they get in return.
That's what people are looking at. What are they going to get? Because people don't want them to draft number one. Right. They want them to have the number one pick, but they don't want them to draft that number one position. They want them to do like they hoped they would do last year. Trade out of it, get a bunch of picks, get your quarterback this year or get him later in the round, Jackson Dart, whoever. That's what the fan base was thinking. Now it's the same thing. It's not necessarily I want you to pick number one. I just want you to have the option of trading out of that pick to then accumulate other picks that could potentially help you. But what I would say to that is even if you get a top 5 pick, you never know how the draft falls. You can move out of that top 5 pick, move down to 8, 9, 10, still be able to get your guy, but then accumulate more picks within this year's, 26 draft or even 27. So you may not be able to get as much. But then again, depending on this year's draft, besides Mendoza, which one of these quarterbacks are seen as number one overall picks?
And the combine helps a lot with that.
Exactly. So even if they say worst case scenario, I think worst case scenario would be 5th overall for them. Worst case scenario. I think the Titans, if they play it right, and I know a lot of people are saying we can't count on the Titans to play it right, but if they play it right, they still can accumulate picks based on that 5th or 4th position in the draft. Somewhere in there. I'll answer the other part. Robert Saleh is growing on me as the guy.
Me too.
I watched them last night. I just think he's got a good presence. He's been through it. He's been through New York. I just think he's super, super respected. And I'm leaning that way. If I had to name one name, that's my number one guy.
I think that would probably be my guy too, Willie. I like what he brings to the table. The only thing with him is I would want him to hire a very good offensive coordinator because he's a defensive guy. We know that. He's probably going to come in here and call the defensive plays, which I'm fine with. Perfectly fine with, actually. Watch the San Francisco defense. You just need to bring in a coordinator that's capable of opening the playbook up to Cam Ward, thus helping his development. It's starting to look more and more because, Saleh, a year ago, he was head coach of the Jets. And, that wasn't going well at all for him. Now, they had a year where the defense played really, really good, and it kept them in a position where they could have been, a playoff team, but it all fell apart. But you look at that, and you say, well, was it Saleh or was it the franchise? But then Saleh leaves, and you still have the same problems that you were having while Saleh was there, which tells me it's more so. And Aaron Glenn may be able to, survive and work through a lot of that stuff that goes on that is going on with the Jets. But it's more and more looking like it was the Jets and not Robert Saleh. Yeah, and that's usually the case when it comes to Jets head coaching hires and or quarterbacks. Let's quickly go back to our phone lines. Welcome in our good friend Kenny, the mailman, who's been on the line waiting patiently. Kenny, go ahead.
Fellas, how are y'all doing?
Hey, doing well.
Thinking about you, Willie, in this season. We go way back.
We do, Kenny.
Listen,
thank you for your thought.
Yeah,
I'm surrounded by family, and so we're all in the same place, and we've got each other, so we're feeling good.
Excellent. I got a Christmas present for all of Nashville. Has anyone there seen the documentary that is on Prime Video called Love You Bum?
I have not.
Oh, my. You've got to watch it. Find an hour and a half, 2 hours over the weekend. It's the history of the firing of Bum Phillips with the Houston Oilers, and the footage is from my teen years, which was amazing. But Bud Adams jumped the gun and fired him after 4 double-figure win seasons, which they hadn't had. After the loss to the Steelers in the playoffs, 250,000 people in Houston was at the airport, the interstate, and filled the Astrodome to cheer on a team that lost a playoff. Can you imagine seeing that?
That is kind of wild to think about, yeah.
I got to believe John McClane's in that, right, Kenny? Is John McClane
there's
in
like three different Houston writers, and Dennis Quaid narrates it. He said he wanted to do it free because he lived it. But it's an amazing story, but it always repeats itself. Bud Adams fired Bum Phillips after having amazing seasons, but Bum was old. Amy is going to be haunted by Mike Vrabel for a quarter of a century. He's still a young man coaching. So watch. I promise you, I will not steer it wrong. It was an A+ documentary. I'm surprised y'all haven't seen it yet. Y'all have a great, great Christmas season.
Thank you, Kenny. Merry Christmas to you as well. 615-737-1025 is the phone number if you want to get involved in the conversation. We'll take your thoughts and
I'm wondering if Connor, I'm wondering through your head, are you going, who is Bum Phillips?
I have no clue.
You're quite young.
I am
Connor, but
Yes.
back in the day, Earl Campbell, Love You Blue, they had some great teams. So they were right there with Terry Bradshaw and the Steelers, just maybe a slight notch below. Never could break through. But
Was Pastorini on that team?
yes, Dan
Yes.
Pastorini. Yeah, those are really good teams, and that is the roots of the Titans, right? Bud Adams, etc.
I consider myself somewhat of an interested historian in where the franchise came from, but like I know a lot of the players and a lot of where some of this stuff comes from, but outside of that and knowing that the Oilers were on Tecmo Bowl, that's about my extent of the knowledge of Bum Phillips. Or
Okay, so
Bum Adams.
note to self: don't ask Connor about the Houston days.
No,
Did you hear what he just said? He said
Tecmo Bowl.
Tecmo Bowl. That's how, like, that's
on,
what
man.
I know.
I love Tecmo.
Hey, nothing wrong with
we
Tecmo
got
Bowl.
the we have something at home. It's like this system you plug into the TV. It's got
Wow.
all these old 80s arcade games and whatever. And Tecmo
Now I'm gonna
Bowl's
start
on
getting
there.
those things on my phone. See, you didn't said it now. They listening to us. I'm
Yeah.
gonna start getting.
Well,
it.
yeah, Alexa. And I probably just triggered everyone's Alexa listening at home. 615-737-1025. The Game National Sports Network is your home for college football bowl games presented by Twin Peaks and Parman Tractor and Equipment. Today on 94.9 The Fan, catch the New Orleans Bowl as Western Kentucky takes on Southern Miss at 5 p.m. And tonight on Sports Talk 8:30, UNLV will take on Ohio in the Frisco Bowl at 8 p.m. For a list of games carried on the Game National Sports Network, visit thegamenashville.com/bowl games. Coming up next, the Titans had a couple of Pro Bowl selections. We'll talk about it on the other side right here on D-Mace, Vingen, and Donick, 102.5 The Game. Ah, yes, the most overrated of Christmas songs.
What?
I'm sorry.
Blasphemous.
I got to admit, it's a little. It's
Well,
a little
Willie,
much. This
Willie,
song gets a little too
Willie.
heavily rotated.
Willie, stop.
I'm okay with it, but it's just a little much.
Willie, they can play
Too
this
heavy.
song every day.
Back it down just a little bit.
They can play this song every day starting December 1st up until Christmas, and I would love it.
Well,
Just
that's
one
the-
I
time
would
every
make
day.
it. I
That's
would
the
make
problem.
it, D-Mace. I would make it.
They've been playing it since November 1st.
Yeah,
Every day.
I was about to say that. That's the problem. They don't wait till December 1st. It's November 1st. D-Mace, Vingen, and Donick back with you on 102.5 The Game. Connor Newt, Derek Mason, Willie Donick, just doing some research on Bum Phillips during the break. He was not in Tecmo Bowl, I can confirm. But speaking of the Oilers franchise, now known as the Titans, there were 2 Pro Bowl selections for the Titans today. Now take what you will from the Pro Bowl, which is a bit essentially a glorified flag football game at this point. But Jeffrey Simmons and Jim Dike named to the Pro Bowl for the Tennessee Titans. They are surprisingly not the team with the least amount of Pro Bowl votes. The Saints had no Pro Bowls. I believe the Jets had no Pro Bowl votes coming in. So what do you think this says about the national perception on the Tennessee Titans roster?
I think, these guys have done enough to sort of be outliers on a team that's bad. And not to say that I think Cam has gotten better. I'm surprised Peter didn't make it. I think Peter got better, a lot better. I think JC's getting better. But I think those guys, obviously Jeffrey Simmons, he should be, obviously he may not. There's more likely he will not win Defensive Player of the Year because of Myles Garrett and how he's playing. But had Myles Garrett not been playing then Jeffrey Simmons should have been or should be the top candidate for Defensive Player of the Year. So he's a standout. You're gonna know. But I think what DK has been able to do as a rookie with the responsibility that he's been given, not only are you the punt returner, but the kickoff returner, and a starting wide receiver or a guy that's heavily into the rotation. That's a lot for a rookie to sort of take on that first year, and for him to do that and excel and be named a Pro Bowler. I think that means a lot. I just want him to continue to develop and continue to build on what he did. But I think it's sort of, a silver lining in a sense to a very, very dismal season.
Right.
The DK story is a great story. I think the Jeffrey Simmons thing is not unexpected.
Mm-hmm.
I think Simmons deserves a lot of credit for the way he's played, and he's shown that he can be the top level player that he is. I think those rankings next summer, top players at X position, top 100 players in the league, I think he's going to get some stock built up because of the way he's played. But the DK thing, that's exciting, right? He looks like a useful piece. If he were just a returner and made it, that'd be good. But he's more than that, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's going to be a nice piece. If they could ever get the crown jewel wide receiver, boy, what would that mean for DK, for all those other guys, right? Everybody else, I think, would all get better matchups. If they had the one guy, I think you would really have the makings of an excellent receiving core. And DK is a big part of that. That for a 4th-round pick, that's a big hit.
Yeah, I think the DK thing is not only a testament to the way Jim DK has played both on offense and special teams. I think a lot of the credit should go to Bones Fossil and how he has transformed the special teams seemingly overnight. Like last season and this season's special teams are completely different in a good way. So I think a lot of the credit goes to Bones Fossil. But of course, Jim DK has been a pivotal part of this season, the little success they've had this season. I think he's going to be a great piece for the future. I'm still not sold that he's the number 1 receiver on this team.
He's not a number.
I think you got to haul in a crown, like Willie said, a crown jewel, Carnell Tate. But if
I'm picking, that's who I'm picking.
That's who I would take.
Yes,
for sure. But I think, Jim DK is going to be a good piece moving forward. And Jeffrey Simmons, like you said, D-Mace, if Myles Garrett did not exist, Jeffrey Simmons, I think, would be the front runner for Defensive Player of the Year. He's playing at an all-pro level right now.
He's playing better than he did the breakout season that he had that ultimately led to him getting a huge contract. He's playing better than that.
Yeah.
And this young man, I still call him young man because he's much younger than me. This young man is playing lights out. And it's unfortunate that, and this is what we sort of talked about during the trade when these trades are swirling around right before the trade deadline. Will Jeffrey be a part of the team that's moving into the new stadium? And if he is, will we still be getting peak Jeffrey Simmons once they move into the stadium? Well, I'm starting to believe that if he ain't peak Jeffrey Simmons, he's gonna be damn close, because the way he's played this season makes me think it's going to be even better. Exactly. It's going to be maybe even better next year.
Yep.
615-737-1025 is the phone number. Willie Al on the text line says, Willie, I backed you with the green Gatorade, but Derek is right. Mariah Carey is not overplayed. What is the green Gatorade?
Oh, let's not get started.
I'm curious.
It's been months.
We will tell a story of the green Gatorade before the show ends.
Exactly.
Yes,
okay.
We'll tell it before the show ends.
Okay. We'll do that. 615-737-1025 is the phone number if you want to weigh in. Coming up next, Predators general manager Barry Trotz will join the program as he does every Tuesday at 5 o'clock. That's all coming up on the other side right here on DVD on 1025 The Game. Hour number 3 of D. Mace, Vingen, and Donick, broadcasting from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville Studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Connor Newt, Derek Mason, Willie Donick here with you, and at 5 o'clock on Tuesdays, we are always joined by Predators General Manager Barry Trotz. So with that, I turn things over to Willie Donick.
All right. Thanks, Connor. And Trotz, good to talk to you as always here. And let's start off with what you're seeing here as the team continues to, as they keep saying, win the weeks, right? They know you may not be able to win every game. There's pressure. You're behind. You've got to make up ground. But if you just have that mentality of winning the week, you seem to see some more consistency here. They seem to be adding layers to the formula. We've been noticing how much more they're getting on the rush now. Andrew Burnett's talked about that. How sustainable do you think this is as you watch them continue to improve?
Well, I think that's a group, if you stay healthy and, sometimes things come together. It takes a little bit of time. Like I said, we've changed a lot of people since last year. We've got a lot of youthful players. We've got some guys back from injuries, what have you. But I think it's fairly sustainable. I mean, you're sort of getting an identity. I like the fact that we are transitioning a lot better, breaking out, getting skin to allow our D to wheel the net and make that first pass a little bit more. I think that we've been pretty resilient in terms of, especially on the PK at certain times. And I think Juice is, I don't look at save percentage, but I do look at timely saves, and we were getting really timely saves from Juice to allow us to stay in games or to win games. So I think it's fairly sustainable. But you're always in this league. It's as soon as you say something like that, it can go south in a hurry. So we're going to. I think we're building our game. I think in addition of getting Cole Smith back, and you see Big Reed Schaefer and back with Big Mac, I think that a fourth line identity could be there. I like the fact that it doesn't matter if it's Steven Stamkos or Forsberg. Playing with O'Reilly, they seem to be doing something offensively, and then the emergence of Luke Evangelista, I think he's starting to take the next step. It's more in the not only in the game sense, but I think he's skating better. I think he's transitioning I'll say a young man's body into a real good pro athlete, and you're seeing a lot of the positives of that. And I think our defense core has been pretty stable. It hasn't, haven't had a lot of injuries there. The same 6 defensemen have been playing probably the last 4 or 5 games. Justin Barron is probably going to get back right after the break here. So, knock on wood, we can stay fairly healthy and stay fairly consistent.
Barry, you mentioned Evangelista, and obviously he's always been a popular player. He's got that charisma to his game. But you just mentioned something. You used the word becoming a pro, right? And Andrew Burnett's used the word maturing. You've seen a lot of players go through that process as a coach. So when did you start to see it with him?
Well, I think I look back probably for me about 10 or 12 games back. I mean, he came back, obviously missed training camp, and you could see the things that Luke can do, obviously with his good hockey IQ and his ability to make plays offensively. But sometimes you didn't see the skating or the some of that wall play that I really think he was really good at. He got away from it, and it started coming back. And then I would say in the last dozen games here, he's just skating at a different level. I think he's sharper, even when he pulls up into the offensive zone. He's looking for that second wave. It's a lot sharper. It's not, everything's a lot cleaner. He's got the confidence right now with the puck. I think that's you watch in the morning skates or in practice. He's out there early, which a lot of times the young guys don't take that initiative. And obviously a guy like Ryan O'Reilly, who we have trouble keeping him off the ice. He's pulled people into the fray. He pulls people into the fray, and just having people like him and some of our veteran players, it really helps the young guys. I mean, I think when they have a whole group of young guys all by themselves, there's no one really leading the way. So, they're just trying to feel it out a little bit. So, I think having a couple of those guys in our locker room really helps those young guys, and even a guy like McCarron with a guy like Reed Schaefer. I mean, those and Cole Smith, those guys are great guys for the young guys, be it Schaefer or LaRue or Kemmel, some of those guys that come into the lineup and sometimes end up being on the fourth line. They're just really good leaders of young men, and that's what you want.
I had a good exchange with AJ Malesko, who's going to be on the call tonight for ESPN Plus. She says to say hello, by the way. She obviously worked with Barry Trotz, for people that don't know, in his days with New York, with the Islanders. She was part of the broadcast group, does a great job for ESPN. But she was asking, we were talking about Steven Stamkos. We're noticing him a lot more. He's scoring in different ways. And I hear all the time from when I ask people about it that it was, I don't know if I would say this, and Barry, maybe you can help fill in the gaps here, that it's been a process getting him to evolve his game. When you look at the staff, how did that process work behind the scenes? Is that a particular coach going to him? Is that him buying in? How does that work? Because he's added some layers to his game based on what we saw the year before, where it was really, you have to get it to him in his spot or else it's not going to happen. Now he's finding different ways to score.
Yeah, no, that's a good job of the coaching staff. Like today we didn't skate, and I went down to the meeting rooms today, and it was busy. I mean, the coaching staff has done a really good job, and that's some of the things that you look at. Everybody looks at the wins and losses, and really, even the fans don't get to see the layers, down in the room and the coaching rooms and all that. But you go down to the second floor. Or meeting rooms, and you got all your coaches, and they've got little pockets of players, and they're going over their shifts and they're going over things, and that's a lot of time and energy. And I give Andrew and the staff a lot of credit. And it starts with Andrew, usually with I'll say your more veteran players, your top guys. Usually that's the responsibility of the head coach, and I think Andrew has got to Steven. And you think about Steven, he's played it's undeniable he's going to be in the Hall of Fame. He scored so many goals, and he's scored so many from that spot. And I had Alex Ovechkin in that spot. And when they get to a certain age, or your team is not as strong, or you're missing an elite guy in the middle to get him the puck where he wants to, they have to evolve. And sometimes it's tough because we always say it's hard to teach an old dog new tricks, but that's the part where the player has to see that he's not going to have much success if he's just being stubborn and saying it always worked that way. And then but that's what makes these guys great, is they will stick with their game as long as they can, and then they go, I got to change something and make something happen for myself. And they start evolving with the help of the coaching staff, with their teammates. And you look at the Stevens 4-goal game. I mean, those are 3 of the 4 goals. I think he was inside the dots or around the net, which is not usually Stevens out on that flank there and shooting pucks, and he did it different ways. So I think he's skating much better. The one thing that I would say about Steven is last year was really hard. Making a transition from Tampa to Nashville. I think he feels like, this is his team now, and he can have an effect on this team. And it's taken a lot longer than I thought, but I feel that way, that Steven feels like he's a big part of this hockey club, and he's helping the young guys, and guys like him and O'Reilly and Forsberg and Yossi and that group of guys with some of the help of McCarron and some of those guys have really been good with the young guys, and they've got a really close unit right now.
Barry Trotz is with us. He is up in Minnesota. The Predators take on the Minnesota Wild tonight at 7 o'clock. You can hear it here on 102.5 The Game. Predators are 9-4 in their last 13. And Barry, basically, the only teams you guys have lost to are elite teams. And you were talking about that with us last week. Colorado and Carolina might be on another level than just about anybody else in the league. Where do you now put Minnesota? This is a great test for your guys right before Christmas, because Minnesota has obviously made the big trade. They're really good as well. What kind of test are you going? What are you going to find out about the team tonight?
Well, I think you're going to find out what you found out hopefully before. I mean, these games on the day after Christmas and the day before Christmas, I've seen them, and you know that, Willie. They can go either way. They can be great matches, or they can be really loose matches. So hopefully we got really good focus. I'm hoping this is another benchmark type of game, especially with the we've had some with Colorado, we've had some with Carolina, who are elite teams. I think Minnesota's joining that group of teams right now, especially with the Hughes trade. They're a veteran group. They've got lots of scoring. They got lots of size, and their back end, obviously, with Hughes and Faber on the back end, and their goaltending tandem is really strong. So I think that by having to play Colorado, Carolina, Minnesota, all these teams, they're the best development tool you can have. You have to play good against them. They have to be detailed, and they have to be committed. And I think by playing these teams in succession, we've had to buy into that. And it's a credit to the players. Number one, they've put forth the focus and the effort, and the coaching staff who have led them. So this stretch has been really tough, but it's been a great development tool for not only for our young players, but for our team to find its identity.
We'll talk with Barry Trotz, Nashville Predators GM. Now, Barry, you talked about how tough this stretch has been for you, and it has been. But tonight, after you play the Wild, you got a 3-day break here for Christmas, and then you jump back in it, and your season really gets going because you got a bunch of games in January leading through February. How critical is it going to be to continue to have the momentum that you have, take it into the Wild game, and then have that break? How important is it to get guys rested? Because after that, you're not going to have no more than a 2-day break, if that, between games.
We're playing every 48 hours or less, probably for all the way up until the Olympic break. And so, what you need is you're going to need some luck, but you're going to need consistency. You're going to need all four lines, going over the boards as much as you can. You're going to need solid goaltending. You need a little luck on the way. And I think the coaching staff and our sports science group has really, really tracked the rest recovery. And we've done a really good job. It's something that we've really added to our group is the next level of care for our players. And I think it's paying off in terms of, we have some older players that have been, fairly healthy and fairly energized through the whole year. I think that staff gets unnoticed. They're the guys that get the guys ready night in, night out, and make sure they're fueled up in the right way. So I give them a lot of credit. But I think what you're going to find is, this is a real good test for us. We can stay focused. I think it's really good for all the players to get a mental break because we're coming out of the right after Christmas. You don't get a mental break. You have to be on every, like I say, between 36 and 48 hours to play another game. So I think the players, I want them to enjoy the Christmas and take a mental break. Obviously not enjoy it too much in other areas, but but I think it's really important for them because you really got to take from the Christmas break to the Olympic break, and you got to segment this season. That'll be a really, really important stretch.
Talking to Predators general manager Barry Trotz. Barry, you've gotten some key production from your young guys this season, but I want to focus in on one specifically that's been playing some quality time and getting some quality production. Reed Schaefer played 12 games, has 3 goals. What kind of an edge does that guy provide you as you guys are kind of getting hot at the right time?
Well, the thing with Reed is he's just getting his first taste of the National Hockey League. He's got 3 goals, which is great. But when you get production from your fourth line, if you will, it's great. But the thing that I like about him is he's 6'5" and he can skate. He's got a little bit of edge and he's got some skill, and he's just he's just a puppy right now. He's learning the game. He's and one thing we found with Reed, you give him a year, he figures it out. Give him a year, he figures it out at every level. And so this is, year one. So hopefully for him, he gets a real strong learning year here, and then takes it to the next level. But that line has a real good identity. I mean, you get McCarron and Schaefer standing next to Cole Smith. Cole Smith is now the run to the litter there. So, and they can play against anybody, and they can wear you out. They can lean on you in terms of the size element. They can get on the forecheck. That's a line that if things aren't going really well, they can get out there and get real physical. Maybe change the tone a little bit on some teams. So I think Reed's going to be a really important player for us for a number of years. So it's really exciting because you look back at what we're trying to do in the last number of years. When I arrived here, David did a great job of starting the process of getting his draft choices. Well, that first sort of draft class that we started this process was Reed Schaefer was in that Ekholm trade. Matthew Wood was in the first pick. Mullendyke's on his way in Milwaukee. He was the other first round pick that we had. So those level of players that are when we started this process are starting to show up on our lineup, and that's you're gonna see that for the next number of years because we've done a really good job, I think, of collecting picks and drafting, and we're trying to build a younger core. So for our fans, I mean, those are pieces that they're gonna love in the future, but they're gonna get to see them grow up just as many of the players got to see, Shea Weber and Suter grow, Roman Yossi grow, Ryan Ellis, those type of players grow up right in front of their eyes. They're going to get a chance to see a new core in the near future, and that'll continue for the next few years for sure.
Barry, the other news that came out from the franchise last week was Nick Saban becoming a minority owner in the franchise. I'm curious what kind of a role he provides in the day-to-day operations of the franchise.
Well, I will say this, that Nick Saban, and I know that he's a minority owner, and he's got a number of jobs, as you know, and he's got a number of different things, but I think he'll be used as a resource, and we haven't gone through the specifics exactly, but I know that Nick has come and talked to our players. Nick has come and talked to our coaching staff and management staff. He's a winner. He's won. He's got I listen to a lot of the things he says, and I believe in a lot of things he says. So I think he's going to be a great resource for our staff and our players and accountability through the franchise, just by, being a part of the ownership, being a part of being available when he's at games. I just think he's got a really good mind for culture and a good mind for coaching. So I think he'll be used in those areas.
Barry, before we let you go, you every week are referencing what's coming up down the pike. The vision of the next, not just what's going on now, but the next few years. I think people would love to hear your take on how you think Brady Martin has done. The World Junior Championships are coming up. That's always a very exciting tournament. He's going to be on Team Canada. What are you seeing from him? What do you think his role will be in this tournament coming up?
Well, before I answer that, I just want to say that I think we've got a great group of prospects at the World Juniors, and I'll touch on a few of them. But I think I want to say it's Utah that have the most prospects in the tournament. It's exciting for management and our scouting staff to have as many prospects in the tournament, because they are a pretty good indication of the future, that you've got people in the pipeline. But obviously everybody's curious about Brady Martin. We have 3 what we call underagers with Team Canada. I don't know if I know of anybody who's been able to do that in the last couple of years. Brady, Reed, and Ivan Kovic, and it's usually a 19 or 20-year-old tournament, and these guys are just they're 18-year-olds. So in terms of Brady, he's right now. He looks like he's going to start the tournament with Michael Hage and himself and Gavin McKenna. If the lines stay the same as they were yesterday, and if that's the case, that he played with McKenna a couple of preseason games and scored 2. They've got a lot of centermen. Him and Philip Denoye, or the pick before them. They're both playing wing. That's usually in these tournaments. Team Canada, they have a lot of centermen playing the wing. But those two guys are both be playing the wing. And I think Brady's going to have a big impact. He's got that physical edge. He's got that skill level. I expect he's going to have a really impactful tournament. And his game will translate really well, especially if he's playing with, skilled people like Cage and McKenna. And he'll be that, I'll say a little bit of that lightning rod on that line. It'll bring that little bit of hardness and a little bit of skill that we like him so much for.
Well, Barry, thanks a lot for joining us on game day. As always, it's a pleasure to talk to you. Good luck tonight against Minnesota. Have a great Christmas break, and we'll talk to you again next week. Thanks for all you do.
Yeah, absolutely. I just want to say to you guys, you guys have a great Christmas. I know that you do such a good job with the coverage with us, and I want to say wish everyone in Smashville a great Christmas, and really we'll see everybody in the new year.
Same to you. Same to you.
There you go. That's Predators general manager Barry Trotz, who joins the program every Tuesday at 5 p.m. We thank him for his insight and his willingness to come on to this show. 615-737-1025 is the phone number if you want to get involved in the conversation. We'll react to some of what Barry Trotz had to say on the other side, plus break down the Predators matchup. A tough one tonight against a division opponent in Minnesota. We'll do that all coming up next right here on DVD on 102.5 The Game.
Boom.
There you go. There's the classic Christmas stuff that I like. The old Bing Crosby, the old Frank Sinatra, stuff like that. That's the good stuff. That's where
Gotta
it's
mix that in.
Yeah.
Mix that in.
Of course, it's Christmas staple. Welcome back in, DVD.
I think it's cutting edge, right, D-Mace? You
Oh,
gotta have
absolutely.
the balance. You gotta have the old school,
New
with
school.
with the contemporary. Yeah.
Exactly. Ain't
It's-
nothing wrong with that.
It's a
Good
perfect
balance.
Yeah, it's good balance. I mean, he can go up with Chris Brown and get energized, but then we go back to we get back to the basics with
Yeah, you get back
Bing
to
Crosby.
the good melody, man.
We
I
just
like
watched White Christmas last night. It's a classic.
that.
Oh, that's a good one.
I
That's a good one. I
haven't seen that one yet this year.
It's a good one.
Okay.
that's another one that if you find the right channel, you'll
Uh-huh.
see that thing on a loop. That thing
Yeah.
goes on with Bing Crosby. I mean, it's always on.
Yeah. Well, Willie, I was informed of the green Gatorade situation. I have to tell
Okay.
you, I think I side with you. It looks very green. to
really?
me.
Oh my
Where have you been for the
god!
last year?
Goodness.
Oh no, we got to bring this back. It's been a year.
Lord.
It looks green. I mean, it may depend
It's
on the
green.
lighting, but it
Uh-huh.
looks green to me in the right
It's
set.
green.
Oh my goodness, y'all too, man.
So now you have a partner in crime if this ever comes back.
Listen,
You just give me a call.
we
I'll
went
back you
down
up.
that road again, and Willie lost by a resounding number.
Well, he's got me
Yes.
now.
It
I'm a
wasn't
one-man
close.
army.
It wasn't even close.
It wasn't close.
Mhm.
The Predators.
But I still stand by my eyes. The lemon lime Gatorade is green, not yellow.
It's worth
That's-
noting I am slightly colorblind, but
Yeah.
yes, I agree. This is green.
Well, that disqualifies him right there.
That settles it.
You're going to disqualify a handicap? That's
Yes,
not
I am. Yes, we are.
Oh no! Yeah, in this situation,
In
yes.
this situation, deciding that decision's already
Yes.
been made. Yes, we're gonna do
yes,
that.
yes, we're gonna disqualify you.
Well, that's just not nice. The Predators in action tonight, right after we get off the air. They take on their Central Division rivals, the Minnesota Wild. This is a series that is always pretty competitive. These are two teams, I think, that are playing hot hockey at the right time, and they usually end up dropping the gloves. So I'm curious to see how this one goes. Willie, do you think that momentum will play a heavy factor into a Predators victory tonight?
Well, you're only as good as your last game. I think this is a great test because Nashville, if you look at this stretch, they've got some good quality wins. They beat Colorado, right? Very few teams are beating Colorado these days. They also lost at Colorado. They lost 2 to Carolina. Those are the 2, I think, best teams in hockey. They've beaten everybody else, so they have some good wins in there. But Andrew Brunette had a great question asked to him after they got beat by Carolina. The one game they lost this week, and they didn't look good doing it. They looked like they weren't on the same level as Carolina. I'm, number one, curious to see how similar Minnesota looks to Carolina in this game because they've loaded up. Their trade for Quinn Hughes, I mean, I'm trying to think of the equivalent of bringing in a Quinn Hughes in football or baseball, but it's, he might be a guy that elevates the rest of his team as much as anybody other than maybe Connor McDavid or somebody like that. Hughes is an incredible game changer.
Yeah.
And now we see him in their lineup.
Yeah,
So-
he's an X factor.
So the question that Andrew Brunette got, guys, is that can you guys? They asked Andrew Brunette, can your team hang with the best teams in hockey? Right, and Andrew Brunette had a great answer. He thought about it for a second. He goes, "I think we can, but we have to be on our A game." Basically, in so many words, I'm not using him directly quoting here, but he's basically saying, "Look, they're not good enough. They don't stack up. If it's A game for Minnesota and A game for Nashville, they might need some bounces if they're going to win." But I think what they've done with the way they're playing, we heard Barry Trotz talking about it, they're adding some layers. They're getting more on the rush now. They're finding ways to make plays. They're getting more goals. They have more confidence in how they're doing it. And so I'm just curious what this looks like in a hostile environment. And they did take Minnesota to overtime last time they were up there. Remember, Steven Stamkos scored in the final second to tie it. And then they had the controversial ending to the game where the goal got knocked off, which I thought was a really raw deal for the Predators. These two teams tend to play tough, hard-nosed games in the division. So it's a really good test to cap off the pre-Christmas portion of the season because in the back, they were written off, right, D-Mace? We had plenty of discussions. they were written off a few weeks ago, but now they've been stringing together some good hockey, and we're all kind of curious: is this just a little stretch, or what are we going to find out? Like, are they going to go back downhill, or can they stay in this thing for a few more weeks and really make it interesting? The next 7 games are on the road, so I think it's like, hey, let's check in after this 7-game road trip. First of all, to see if I'm still kicking or I'm on fumes after all the cities we're about to go to after Christmas. I'm glad we get this time to recharge, but it's going to be a grueling road trip. If they can stay within 2 or 3 points of the wild card at the end of that stretch, then to me it really gets interesting.
That's why I asked Barry, the question of, listen, after this wild game, hopefully they can get a victory in, because it seems like the month of December has been really good to this team, and you want to finish the month off right. But after the wild game, they get that 3-week break, that 3-day break. But then once they hit it, like you said, they're going to be playing basically every 48 hours. And that's going to really be like January and February leading up to their break. That will tell, and let me know if you agree with this, Willie, that will tell where this team may eventually go as we hit the trade deadline.
And I heard you guys were listening to Barry. He still is measured, right? When I asked him about how sustainable this is, he's measured, right? I think he wants to see more. He's encouraged. He's excited that it looks more like it was supposed to look when they started the season. And I think he's excited about the fact that riding it through with Andrew Burnett when everybody around the league was like, you got to make a change. I think he feels a little vindicated that the guys have responded without going to the low-hanging fruit of just changing the coach. I think that's good. But what I hear him focusing all the time on is, where are my young guys? He knows in the big picture, for them to be successful, this young group of players like Reed Schaefer that you asked about, Connor, like Luke Evangelista and guys like that, have to keep growing. They have to keep growing. That is as important as anything in the big picture. And I think he's willing to see it go either way. If they slide back down and they still need to be sellers, which is where everybody thought they would be a month ago anywhere, that's fine. And if they shock the world and keep moving up the standings, then even better. So we'll have to see where it goes.
Yeah, and I think young players, we love them. We love our old players. We love Philip Forsberg and Roman Josi and Steven Stamkos as well as he's playing right now. But the young players are laying the foundation for the future of the franchise. And it's important to see the growth of those players like Reed Schaefer, who I think has been playing very productive minutes throughout his tenure so far. Matt Wood is a guy that comes to mind for me.
That's another guy.
Yeah, you need to see production from those guys, and they continue to grow throughout the game. And that's kind of what makes the NHL so interesting, is you see these guys develop right in front of your eyes. Obviously, there's minor leagues, but there's nothing quite like the speed and the physicality of the big league. So you watch these guys grow with the game right in front of your eyes. I think we're seeing some of that right before us in guys like Schaefer and Wood and Evangelista and Ozzy Weisblatt. Before the injury, I thought he was playing some good hockey. So it is important to see the foundation being laid for the future.
And it's never over, right? D-Mace, you see Luke Evangelista is playing well, but
yes,
you have to keep doing it, right? Consistency. Is it just a hot streak, or has he really gotten to a next level to where he can be counted on as a guy that really is a top 6 guy? I think we were all skeptical that he was true top 6. I think we all saw him more top 9, but his numbers have really taken a jump, and it's encouraging. I heard Andrew Burnett say more than once, he seems to be blossoming, evolving right in front of our eyes here. And that is a big thing. They need a few more of those stories, right? Last year, the entire year, you're waiting for somebody, one of the young players, to pop, right? Give us something to lean on. But you mentioned, Matt Wood's had some nice stretches. Schaefer looks encouraging, and he's just scratching the surface. Same thing with Wood. Wood's the youngest of any of them at 20, and they're making some contributions. Where does it go, right? Is it just a little bit of, will they come back down? I've seen plenty do it. But if they can ride it through and make it all the way to the end without hitting the wall, then that's encouraging, not only for this season, but for the coming seasons.
And I think what he has been talking about for the longest. And, listen, it's hard to be patient at times, but Barry has shown the utmost patience with this team because he understands that unlike other sports, it takes time for these young guys because they sort of got to filter through the minor leagues and then you got to get them up and then you got to continue and hope that they, have developed enough where they can be consistent to stay on the roster. I think you're starting to see that now with a few of those younger guys. And what he's hoping is more of those younger guys start to come on. So what he talked about 2 years ago about, the process and getting these younger, it starts to come into view now because you see the Reed Schaefers or Evangelistas, guys like that are now producing. Are they lighting up the world? No, but they're producing. And I think you're looking at it from a, what will they look like next year if they continue to do the things they're doing this year? And I think Barry sees it. He wants to be measured in it, but I think he's encouraged by what he's seeing from those younger guys.
That indeed. Preds in action right after us. Pregame starting at 6 p.m. with the suit Chase McCabe and then Max Hers and Hal Gill on the call live from Minneapolis. Or is it St. Paul? Correct me if I'm wrong, Willie. I think it's St. Paul.
The arena is in St. Paul.
That's right.
The team has started to stay in Minneapolis. For years, I never saw Minneapolis, the Twin Cities.
Yeah.
But Andrew Burnett prefers, he's spent a lot of his professional career in Minnesota with the Wild as a player and a coach and an assistant GM. And so I'm glad he's helped us discover a little bit of Minneapolis, right by Target Field and the Viking Stadium's right there.
Yeah. I've heard it's beautiful.
Play there. The Wild are the only one that play over in St. Paul, but they have a great facility over there.
Right next to the St. Paul Saints, AAA affiliate of the Minnesota
That's
Twins.
right.
Willie, I know you
Pete
got...
Weber still wants me to try out for the St. Paul Saints.
I think you should.
Left-hand pitcher.
Go ahead and get it. Go ahead and do it,
I think
Willie.
you still got the gas.
Warm that rotator up and go ahead.
I think you still got the gas.
Slowest.
Willie, I know you got some uncle duties you got to take care of, so Merry Christmas to you. Enjoy the time with your family, and thanks for letting me do this with you today.
Yeah, thanks, Connor. You did a great job. And D-Mace,
yes.
Merry Christmas to you. We've become pretty tight
exactly
over these last few years that we've been working together. I just want to thank everybody at our staff and our listeners for the support that you guys have given me. It's been a tough year, but I got my family with it. And last night I judged the gingerbread house contest between my niece and nephew. You want to talk about a tough call, trying to judge who had the better gingerbread house? I had to come up with some way to make a tie. I couldn't choose one over the other. That was tough. So I don't know what we got.
Nobody wins.
Nobody wins. Yeah.
But Willie, I want to say Merry Christmas to you and your family. And I know this time of years it's tough for you. I know it. But know you got friends here in Nashville while you're away that are thinking about you and wishing nothing but the best for you and your family. I know Aaron will be missed, especially on this day, man.
Mm-hmm.
But she's still there with you. You know that.
Oh yeah.
And I know you'll feel on Christmas morning when you wake up. So we want to say from the station, we love you, Willie, and we love your family, and we wish you a very, very Merry Christmas.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
615-737-1025 is the phone number. Last call for your phones and texts. We'll talk a little hoops on the other side, since it's just me and D-Mace. DVD here with you on 1025 The Game. D-Mace's girl, Fantasia, bringing us back. I thought it was Lauryn Hill. I was close, but it is Fantasia. 102.5 is your home for the Mutual Liberty Music City Bowl on Tuesday, December 30th. Music City Bowl coverage presented by Pickers Vodka and Beyond the Edge Sports Bar. Welcome back, DVD, here on 102.5 The Game. One final segment before we send you off to Chase McCabe to get you set for Predators and Wild coming up with puck drop at 7 o'clock. Since it's just me and D-Mace with about 6 minutes to kill, I have a question for you.
Yes.
Has the NBA on Christmas Day lost its luster?
Wow.
What a question.
I ask you as someone who has watched Jordan and Magic and Bird and Kobe and all of these guys play on Christmas Day.
Mhm.
And the NBA on Christmas Day was a spectacle. Now,
Yes.
I mean, I will probably watch some of these games, but it doesn't hit as much for me.
That's because, and listen, there are marquee players, on Christmas Day that are going to be. Shea Alexander is probably, not taking anything away from LeBron, but Shea, he's the reigning MVP.
Yeah,
his team just
he's
won
the best player in the world right
His
now.
team just won an NBA championship. Sound like Stephen A. there. But they still have marquee names. But it's just now those other names that we've been so used to and accustomed to seeing, whether it's LeBron, whether it was Steph, guys like that are now getting older.
Yeah.
Guys like that are now being, superseded by Shea Alexander or, the kid in Cleveland, Mitchell, Donovan Mitchell, or, the Knicks in their ball club. And obviously San Antonio with Wemby. There are new names now. And I'm not sure, because when Jordan and then was phasing out, here comes, LeBron and not LeBron, but
Kobe.
Here comes Kobe and Shaq and then some other guys. And then, and then once they started to segue, here's LeBron and Steph.
Right.
And
KD.
and KD and those teams were great. They were, Golden State was winning championship after championship. So people wanted to see the Lakers and Golden State play each other on Christmas Day. It was a marquee matchup. Now, they do have a marquee matchup this year. I think that OKC and San Antonio game may be better than the first time they played them.
Yeah. In OKC.
When they won it, I think they won in overtime. San Antonio ended up winning in overtime or late in the game.
Yeah.
But they still have it's just the matchups are not what they used to be. Still good matchups, but it's just the Lakers now isn't the Lakers 4 or 5 years ago.
I think some of it is there were less teams back then. Now there are 30 teams, and the talent is more widespread across the league. Back in that era, it was, the Bulls were always competitive. The Lakers were always competitive.
The Pistons,
the Celtics, all of these teams
the Knicks.
Yeah, the Knicks, all these teams that your grandfather cheered for. Now they're still competitive. Like the Knicks and the Cavs play. That'll be a good game. Both are good teams. But now you have these new age teams like the Thunder, and the Mavericks are kind of emerging with their young pieces and Cooper Flag. And you still have the Lakers and the Celtics.
But it's almost like
it's different.
It's a good Laker team, but it's not the Laker team that when I'm thinking of the Lakers playing on Christmas, I'm thinking they are a top tier team. And it hadn't been that way for a couple of years. I get it. And maybe that's why I've watched less and less of NBA on Christmas Day, because the matchups aren't what they used to be. Teams are good, players, but it's just not like it was. And I'm not even talking about in the Jordan days. I'm talking, early in LeBron years, Steph, when they were going back and forth, when Golden State and, whoever LeBron played for, whether it was Cleveland or Miami, they were going at it. So I think we missed some of that, but you still got some great matchups in there. Like I said, the Cleveland and New York game is going to be an outstanding game. They play that in Madison Square Garden. If you've never been to Madison Square Garden, you need to go, because that's an iconic venue. It's not the greatest of venues.
It's bucket list,
but it's a bucket list.
There's so much history that's happened in that building. But I think you're right. I think some of it is the game has changed too, to where it's a more offensive style of basketball. Not that to say that they don't play defense. I mean, there are cases where they don't, but
Mhm.
it's such a different game than what it was 5-10 years ago. Sometimes it's hard for me to find interest in it. That's why I kind of defect to college basketball,
Uh-huh.
but mainly because, I love my Kentucky Wildcats, but it's hard for me to compare the two because I prefer one over the other, but I am going to partake in Christmas Day this year. I am going to watch some of these games.
I mean,
And it's a full slate. It's like 5 games.
Yeah, you got like I said, you start off with the Knicks in Cleveland. You got San Antonio and who did I just say that San Antonio was playing?
OKC.
OKC and San Antonio OKC. Then you got Golden State playing. You got Denver playing Minnesota, which should be a good matchup.
They always get really
Lakers are playing Houston, I believe.
That's KD versus
KD
LeBron.
versus LeBron.
That's a fun one.
That should be a fun one. But it's just not like, man, it's lost some of its luster.
Yeah.
I still love the game of basketball. I still love the NBA. But Christmas Day isn't what it used to be.
Right. And I think maybe it's because there's more games. Because I remember when I was a kid, I'm going to sound so young here. I remember the whole talk of the day was, LeBron and the Cavs are playing the Warriors. They were just in the finals.
That's all you cared about.
And it was a great game. It's in Cleveland this year, and it went down to the wire. That's all I remember. And I remember Derrick Rose for the Bulls on Christmas Day. Now I have to look up who's playing because I don't remember. Like, there's not this.
Like, who wants to see Dallas and Golden State play? Like, seriously,
Dallas and Golden State.
I mean, that's about it. I mean, Golden State, an average team this year.
Right.
Dallas, a below average team. So who wants to see those two again? Who wants to see an average to a below average team play on Christmas Day?
Regardless.
Yes.
Christmas Day on NBA as a part
on
of
NBC. Is it NBC? ABC. ABC.
Usually ABC.
Yeah, it's ABC.
D-Mace, it's been a blast.
Absolutely.
Merry Christmas to you.
Same to you, Connor.
Hope you enjoy time with your family.
Same to you. Don't rush too fast over to your
I will not.
nephews, okay?
I want to see
your
them.
cousins.
Of course. That'll do it for us here on DVD for Willie Donick and Derek Mason. My name is Connor Newt saying so long. Merry Christmas to you. We'll see you next week here on 102.5 The Game. Preds and Wild pregame coming up with Jason McCabe right after this.
Be loved, love on your people. Have a safe, blessed, and wonderful day. Have a safe, blessed, and wonderful Christmas. I love you. The team loves you. You hear this music. We will see you next week. Next week at 3 p.m. on Monday on 102.5 The Game. Peace.